Welcome to today's City Club Forum. My name is Ralph Delarada. I have the great pleasure of being the president of the City Club for this year. I apologize in advance for the raspy voice. I asked my doctor what he can do for me. He said just wait till summertime. So that's Cleveland for you. I'm looking forward to June. It's going to be better. Of course, my tenure will be over at the end of June. Well, the City Club of Cleveland was established in October of 1912, and since that time it has served as one of the nation's premier public podiums for civic dialogue, truly covering the most important topics of our time. I don't think we'll disappoint today. We draw our guest speakers from a variety of fields and backgrounds, providing a national forum of free speech. These speakers, who are rich in experience and knowledge, are here to spur discussion and learning among the citizens of Cleveland, as well as to our greater national audience. Today it is my pleasure to introduce a Cleveland-born, more importantly distinguished and widely respected leader on the critical subject of Arab-Israeli relations, especially regarding recent events in Gaza and southern Israel. Our speaker, Aaron David Miller, has devoted his adult life to achieving peace in the contentious Middle East. He is currently a public policy fellow at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in Washington, D.C., where he has been for the past 3 years. Mr. Miller emphasizes the need for a fair and impartial United States when dealing with Israel, Hamas, Syria, and other Arab states. Although he is Jewish and harbors an affinity for Israel, Mr. Miller stated that America has acquiesced in too many bad Israeli ideas. The Obama administration, Miller asserts, will have to be much tougher with Israel than those of both Bill Clinton and George W. Bush if it is to be serious about Arab-Israeli peacemaking. As the only superpower left in the world, the United States must impose accountability on both sides of the negotiating table in order to be a successful arbitrator with any efficacy. Mr. Miller spent 2 decades with the U.S. Department of State, where he advised not 1, but 6 secretaries of state. He has been instrumental in formulating U.S. policy on the Middle East and the Arab-Israeli peace process, at positions including Senior Advisor for Arab-Israeli Negotiations and Senior Member of the State Department's Policy Planning Staff. Mr. Miller has received the Department of State's Distinguished, Superior, and Meritorious Honor Awards. After his extended tenure at the State Department, Mr. Miller joined Seeds of Peace and served as its president from 2003 to 2006. Seeds of Peace is a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering young leaders from regions of conflict with the leadership skills required to accomplish reconciliation. Leading this organization reflected Miller's belief that serious conflict resolution requires transforming attitudes on the ground as well as in high-level political agreements. Mr. Miller has been featured in numerous media appearances, including several CNN shows, the NewsHour with Jim Lehrer, Fox News, the NBC Nightly News, CBS Evening News, National Public Radio, the BBC, and Al Jazeera, among other outlets. You might have read his articles in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, and the International Herald Tribune, to name a few. He has also been a featured presenter at the World Economic Forum in many of our top-tier universities. He released his 4th book earlier this year, which is titled The Much Too Promised Land, America's Elusive Search for Arab-Israeli Peace. He has also authored The Arab States and the Palestine Question, Between Ideology and Self-Interest, The PLO and the Politics of Survival, and The Search for Security, Saudi Arabian Oil and American Foreign Policy. Prior to joining the State Department, Mr. Miller received a BA and his PhD in American Diplomatic and Middle East History, both from the University of Michigan. He currently resides in Maryland with his wife, and together they have 2 children. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to introduce this distinguished international leader. Please join me in welcoming Aaron David Miller to the City Club. Nice to have
you. Well, thank you very much, Jim. Thank you for inviting me not once to the City Club, but twice, which is rare. This is an extraordinary forum, and it brings people with diverse points of view. It's a real gift to the city, and thanks for everything that you do, Jim. It's also an honor and a privilege for me to be back here in Cleveland to see friends and family. Cleveland is where I was born, and more important, it's the place in which the views and values that have shaped my life were formed. It's hard to live up to those values. Honesty, integrity, selflessness, compassion, a desire to do for others, which I learned from my grandparents' parents and my friends and family. And it's a good reminder of where I came from and what I want to do when I return to the city. On a personal note, I've had an opportunity for almost a quarter of a century, and my kids are now 29 and 26, so that's a very long time, 25 years, to provide advice, both good and bad, to 6 secretaries of state on an issue that still confronts America as one of the most intractable disputes in the international system. That is to say, whether or not the Arabs and Israelis will ever achieve a just and durable and comprehensive peace. During that period, I developed a profound faith in 3 basic propositions. I believed in them when I started. I believed in them during my diplomatic career. I believed in them even when I left in 2003 amidst the violence and chaos and horror of continuing Israeli-Palestinian confrontation. And even today, when the situation, I would argue, is profoundly worse than ever, I continue to believe in them. One, that there is an equitable and durable solution to the conflict. No perfect justice. I'm not a religious person, but there's no perfect justice for anyone this side of heaven. No one in life. I don't care whether it's in your marriage or your business or your friendships, ever gets 100%. There's no perfect justice, but there is an equitable and durable solution to this conflict. Second, the only way it's ever going to be achieved is through the long and imperfect process of negotiation. Imperfect because it's based on human frailty and weakness. Imperfect because it's based on the need to make choices, painful choices. And finally, I believe, still do, that America has a critical role to play in this process. It cannot impose, it cannot fix everything. It doesn't have that kind of power or that kind of toughness or smarts. It requires decisions made by Arabs and Israelis, but without America, there will be no comprehensive solution. These 3 propositions I believe in still, because to give up on them essentially means giving up on the future, and I would argue to you, no one, not a father of 2 children, for sure, has the right to mortgage the future or give up. But to have illusions about this problem, I would argue, is equally morally unconscionable. And somewhere between hope and despair, I find myself today talking to you. America has become, and frankly, I'm much less interested right now in the Arabs and the Israelis. They will fend for themselves the way they've fended for a very long time. They will do what they need to do to survive, to promote their respective political agendas. I care much less about them today than I do about America. Because America has become, with apologies to Jonathan Swift, a modern-day Gulliver, tied up in knots in an area of the world that is increasingly critical to its success and its security. 9/11 today, to this day, remains the 2nd bloodiest day in American history, exceeded only by September 17th, 1862, during the Battle of Antietam, in which more Americans were killed on a single day than in any other day on the continental United States in American history.